Hello comrades, my name is Fritz and welcome back to F1 Challenge 99-02 and welcome all of you die-hard Formula 1 fans and actually Hillary Clinton supporters to Canada. Since 1961, Canada has had a place on the prestigious Formula 1 calendar, and although it wasn't originally held here, it has been held on two prior locations, most notably Mosport Park, the very tricky, rough-surfaced Mosport Park, and from 68 onwards up till, about the early 1970s, it was held at Mont-Tremblant, slightly a bit of a distance away from Mosport Park, and then it moved here, the man-made island, the Ile de Notre Dame, on the banks of the St. Lawrence River. Also, one of my favourite events on the Formula 1 calendar, and unfortunately because I used to watch it on the BBC and now Channel 4, an event that I rarely get to watch live because it happens so late at night, it's way past my miserably early bedtime. Now, the site for the Canadian Grand Prix was originally used in Expo 67. You'll see some of the remnants from that particular general exhibition as we hurtle around the course. It's the track is made up of taxiways and people sort of walks from the exhibition, which explains why it's so kind of contrived and actually in some places incredibly narrow. But it's a wonderful circuit. This is the Wall of Champions, where legendary drivers, including Michael Schumacher, have crashed at strategic, very important choke points on the Formula 1 championship season. And yes, it always produces exciting races year on year. McLaren and Ferrari both hold 13 wins apiece. They are drawing for wins. And however, Ferrari pipped McLaren to the post in this particular instance because Michael Schumacher, who I mentioned a moment ago, can claim 7 different wins at this circuit. Hot on the heels of the legendary 7-time Formula 1 World Champion, however, is die-hard Maverick Brit Lewis Hamilton, sporting 5 wins at the circuit, including his first one in 2007, which I remember very well. It was also the race that I witnessed one of the most atrocious crashes that I've ever seen in Formula 1 racing, when Robert Kubica, the Polish bloke, in driving the BMW Sauber, crashed at this very point on the circuit. And yes, luckily, miraculously, he escaped unharmed. It was broadcast live on ITV at the time. It was back in 2007, yeah. And back when Formula 1 used to have ad breaks in it, I know, outrageous. It's like, oh, we're having a great exciting Formula 1 race, then suddenly, time for some short films about capitalism. Yes, that's how it works these days. Formula 1 these days is now more of a business than a sport. I mean, speaking of capitalism, that's what it's come to with all the sponsors and whatnot. But yes, it's imperative for Formula 1 to move with the times if it wants to grow in its fan base and be extraordinarily successful. And Bernie Ecclestone, the former manager now, since Liberty Media got hold of it, has done a very good job exporting his trade and his passion for Formula 1 auto racing all around the world, most notably with places in the Middle East, including Bahrain and obviously Russia. The Russian Grand Prix held at the old Olympic event in Sochi, and not really a fan of the new Tilkedromes, as many fans call them, the more modern circuits, or even old circuits that have been, quote, improved by Tilke, including the Hockenheim Ring, which we're going to be exploring later on this season, as we're actually doing quite well. Almost a second up, and I believe that's our personal best time at this circuit. I have got my eye in over the last hour or so during a couple of practice sessions. I've dropped the wings down as low as I dare as we open the taps onto the Casino Straight. 178 miles an hour. It might need our wings might need a bit of tweaking there because we were getting 180 out of it last time. So maybe the setup has been reverted. 24, 25, yeah, we're clocking the 125s in early practice, so, oh good lord, we might need to readjust our setup. The Canadian Grand Prix circuit is a track that really rewards bravery and confidence, having very long straights and incredibly sharp corners such as this one in places. It rewards late braking, straight line speed, and above all cornering grip. And I believe in comparison, well, in a stark contrast to last week, where the car was atrocious to drive on the old Catalunya circuit, we should be in good shape to do much better in this race, although it does look like the Flying Finn Mika Häkkinen is really pulling out all the stops as we go very wide into the second chicane, trying not to spin it, and well, we miserably failed at that. Let's do a 1,000,000-point turn as we mildly Austin powers it in between the very narrow track limits there, and into the third chicane, sorry, the second chicane. That was the first chicane that we spun at. Yes, we need to really pin down the apexes, pin down the apex speeds, and try and get through without too much difficulty. We're going to brake early, make sure we get everything set up nicely, and concentrate on getting a clean exit, shimmying the car over to the outside. If you are pushing really hard, your car does end up rushing the barriers on the outside. Hit the brakes into this very tight hairpin bend at one end of the track, making sure to get the nose in, get the nose pointed in the right direction before you floor it on the loud pedal up the casino straight. In 1995 there was a chicane at this particular point on the circuit before the Wall of Champions chicane up here, so as we get that a bit wrong as well, we need to running quite a low downforce setup, so we need to remember that we are going to be approaching that final corner a bit faster than you might expect. Something to really bear in mind as we get that all wrong. God, that was a good save from me, if I do say so myself. And of course I do. Getting a bit wide because the entry position was a little bit compromised there, but we can recover that fairly easily. Making sure we don't take too much curb, because that is what will pitch you into the barriers. Flat through here, brake at the 50, just before the 50, although you don't want to be too over-ambitious. This corner is tighter than you might think, and up here on the left, you'll get closest to it down the hairpin as, oh god, our engine is starting to go. I've got the warning light up here. The biosphere up on the left is the American biology plantation zone, demonstrating some new extraterrestrial habitats, I believe. That's left over from Expo 67, that's quite interesting, and amongst those there are other pavilions from different countries dotted around the map here. And it looks like our engine should hold out for this flying lap. We are half a tenth up on our previous time. Hopefully the car will stay together. We don't want to spurt oil all over the circuit and blow our engine. That would not be good at all. Braking a bit early, compensating for our entry speed, bouncing over the inside curb. I wasn't entirely sure what's wrong with the engine. We have turned the engine all the way up, which might pose a bit of issue for our engineering team. Yes, not entirely sure what's happening with the engine. Yeah, we're just going to have to touch wood and hope that nothing goes too seriously wrong. We've got 3 laps of fuel left anyway, might as well use them, as once again we overcook it into here. Nice recovery. That's our teammate. Is that our teammate? I believe it is. Going a bit too fast to really notice these things. Everything goes by in a blur, and yeah, it's just important. You have to concentrate on finding your braking points and so forth. Yes, that is our teammate. That's Ralph Schumacher. One other thing I'd like to mention as we cruise around this 2.7 mile man-made circuit here. Well, street circuit, I should say. The circuit is actually situated on the Ile de Notre Dame, which is completely man-made and was set up for Expo 67, which is interesting how infrastructure tends to build into the favour of Formula 1 races as we go very wide. We have to let him through there. Yes, shout out to all of the positive comments that I got on the Imola episode. Thank you for all of that. Didn't actually believe that this series would take off in the way that it has done. Well, I use take off in a loose term. Take off for my own channel standards, so thank you for all of that. That is greatly appreciated. I do really enjoy playing Formula 1, and at times, despite the fact that in Catalonia, for instance, things didn't go our way, it's always useful to keep the season in perspective and keep pushing to maintain a championship position. So thank you for all of your support. Thank you for the new couple of subscribers that I've earned over the last week or so. The reason why all of my shout-outs and things are coming a bit later is because I do pre-record these episodes. I tend to be 1 to 2 episodes ahead per week, as our engine is holding together, it seems. 1 to 2 episodes ahead per week, so yeah, I will be delayed on information, although I have received it, to be sure. I have received it, and I am acknowledging it, and I'm very happy that you guys are enjoying it. So yes, keep all of your likes and support coming in. I do enjoy the seasons, and I do enjoy the races as much as you are enjoying watching the videos, so yeah, I hope that can continue well into the future as our fuel warning light comes on. Really not entirely sure what the engine is doing at this point, but I can't really hear the game because my headphones are a bit knackered, but in the edit I will obviously check that out, as the car goes very sideways. Got the Jordan though. Quite possibly Damon Hill surging up behind us as we go very wide into there. We don't want to get all crossed up on the exit. Yeah, we're going to head into the pits on this lap because it doesn't look like we're going to be able to improve, and also I want to get that engine looked at. Passing up the biosphere once again as we brake very late into this one. That's not gone well at all. I really need to concentrate. Yeah, we're pushing quite hard there. We're brushing the barriers on the exit. The pit entrance is very fast because it juts out right off the back straight here, so gotta be careful getting the entry speed right, otherwise you will pay the price in terms of stop and go penalties and so forth. That's a festoon, it's a conflagration of bright red gaudy warning lights as we hurtle down the back straight for the final time in the practice session. There's Ralf Schumacher as the speed limiter takes over. 37 miles an hour is a bit faster in Interlagos, I think. But yes, it depends on the pit straight, I guess. I guess this one was a bit narrower, so it's going to have to be a bit slower. And yeah, we're going to do some Vettling before we head over to qualifying, and we'll see you there. On to the casino straight now, at the end of our outlap, about to begin our first flying qualifying performance. Watch for the 100, hit the brakes into the final chicane, bounce it over the curbs. 50 miles an hour is not bad, don't get too sideways on the exit, just so you want a very, very clean run onto the pit straight. 160 miles an hour, we got a car pulling out ahead of us. Can we get ahead of it? Oh god almighty, the BAR Honda is... And that wasn't meant to happen. We did have a similar incident in Monaco where we somehow managed to barrel roll Rubens Barrichello into the Armco barriers. We're going to do a bit defensive just to show him we mean business. If you're wondering about all the skid marks, I was trialling a slightly low downforce setup earlier on in practice, and that had some unintended consequences, most notably some trips into the barrier. Engine holding together quite nicely. We might want to reconsider our radiator setups. The reason why I've got the radiator set so small and the brake ducts set to their, well, one of their minimum sizes is because it just decreases drag, and on a long straight like this you really want to decrease drag because, you know, as you increase your speed, the air resistance increases at a rate proportional to your current velocity. I'm sure there's lots of differential calculus that you can do as we smack into the... Good lord, as we smack into the back of Schumacher. That was quite a big accident. We're going to head back to the pits, actually. Let's have a replay of that. So we're getting quite into finding the grip, finding the speed, and then he suddenly brakes and we just collide with him, and then, yeah, that doesn't go so well. We have nowhere to go in that situation. Bit preoccupied to check our mirrors as we spear and spin into the gravel traps. Yeah, and that is our qualifying lap abandoned. We're going to jink to the left. We're going to have him on the inside at the turn 1, making sure, since we want to get past the Arrows car as soon as possible so we're not blocked in by traffic like we were for the previous couple of laps, I'm going to play it safe into the first chicane. Keep it nice and tidy. That's not tidy, the car braking away from us like it did at Saint-Deveau a few weeks ago when we were at the French Riviera. This corner is deceptively tight, so follow the rubbered-in line and then gun it on the exit, using all of the track, making sure we use our mirrors to see where the Arrows car is. We don't want it to collide with us. Once again, playing it safe into chicane number 2, using those artificial rumble strips as a guide as to where to position the car. and then letting the Williams loose onto the run into the bottom chicane here. That's the split time. Minus 6 seconds. To be honest, we didn't really do a very good time initially, so it probably isn't going to be massively remarkable. In fact, it's not going to be very remarkable, because we are usually at this point on the circuit by about 59 seconds into the lap, so we just need to try and find out where we're losing that time. We are about 2 or 3 seconds down on our best practice run. Hopefully we can make up the deficit. We slipped down to 10th. That's Irvine at 125, and that's, wow, we're first. 125.6. That is completely unexpected. Not entirely sure how we managed that, although I do expect the times to tumble further. This really is not the be-all and end-all, since I saw Hakkinen in practice 4 clocking a 123, although that could of course be down to differing track conditions. Here we are, about to start the 1999 Formula 1 Canadian Grand Prix. It was an excellent qualifying session for Alessandro Zanardi and the Williams Formula 1 team. We start 5th on the grid. It's set to be an exciting race, so let's get right to it. We're going to inch forward in the starting blocks because the AA like to smash into us. They get away a bit too quickly, they're very aggressive, and lights out, away we go, and it's an okay start. We're going to move across. Irvine's side is past. We've dropped back into 6th place. That's not gone so well. We're going to move up the inside of Barrichello as everything goes a bit wrong. David Coulthard has struggled into turn 1. He's been pitched around, but we're dropped down into 10th place. That's really not ideal at this point. We're going to be very brave into the first chicane here. Get past Jacques Villeneuve, the son of Gilles Villeneuve, who won here, who I mentioned earlier on in the video. Brake at the 50, find the grip, find the apex, follow our teammate Ralf Schumacher. This is Johnny Herbert. We had a bit of trouble with him at Imola before his engine expired, and that was a bit of luck on our part there, keeping him behind us for a majority of that Italian race. Trying to find the points where Herbert is slow. We're slow off here. Actually, that's not gone so well. We're going to try and have him under braking at the casino hairpin and see how close we can get. Yes, scything up the inside. That was a fairly clean overtake. We don't have much grip on the exit. I think the diff locks are still up to about 20%. I should really have checked before moving on to the race. Lap 1 out of 6, and we had a bit of trouble at the first corner, so that has dropped us down a few positions, but here we are pursuing our teammate Ralf Schumacher, nicely bouncing it over the curbs at the final chicane, making sure we don't have a particularly bitter encounter with the Wall of Champions. Focus on the braking points, not on the cars ahead. Schumacher tripping over the Prost car up ahead. Try and find a way past. It's a very narrow track. Don't oversteer on the curbs. That could be very nasty indeed. Brave on the brakes once again, making sure everything is nice and tidy. The main overtaking spot seems to be the hairpin at the bottom end of the track, and if we can just keep close to Ralf Schumacher, we'll be in with a good shout of finishing strongly in this race. God, we're going very wide there. That's not gone so well. Herbert once again following in our wheel tracks as we are about a third of the way through the race now. Getting a better exit at the second chicane. Seeing we might be a bit too far behind to do anything with Schumacher, but we're going to brake late nonetheless. We've bunched up the entire field now. The Prost team tripping over the Williams team. It's an inter-team battle that can really only go one way, since the Prost is a little slower than the Williams. We're going to try and gain some time on the very long casino straight on the run down to the final chicane. We're going to watch the braking points. We're going to lift off very gently. Right up, closing right up to the gearbox of Jarno Trulli. As we begin lap 3, the halfway point in the race, we're going to move to the right, jink to the left, as we know the line that they're going to take, sliding up the inside of Jarno Trulli, and chasing down our teammate Ralf Schumacher as we go very wide. Trulli looking up the inside, not quite enough space for him to do that, because we've glued the car to the apex. As we get this chicane a bit wrong, that's fine, we can make up some time. We were about this far back at the beginning of the previous lap, so maybe having a look at Schumacher at the final corner or at the hairpin will do us some good. Ralf Schumacher slipping away though. This could get interesting. We still haven't recovered from our early first lap shenanigans, so maybe we are in a bit of trouble here. Our best finish this season has been second place at Monte Carlo, but that was because many of our competitors actually crashed out of the race. Only 6 cars finished that race actually. I didn't show you the timing boards at the end of that. Schumacher 1.8 seconds ahead. We were much closer to Jarno Trulli in the Prost last time, but don't give up hope. Let's keep being consistent. The Prost of Trulli is falling behind a bit. We can afford to be a bit more aggressive into the final chicane here, and indeed we're going to run over the flake asphalt there, the rubber, the green rubber that provides a bit of runoff if you get that final chicane a bit wrong. Ralf Schumacher and the Ferrari tripping over each other. The AI are notorious for this. Hopefully we can maximize our position from the chaos that will obviously entail when they do try, but not like that. If we get that all wrong, that's not gone to plan. We were so close to spinning it there, but luckily I kept it on the straight and narrow. Brake early for this one. Don't let the nose run wide. That's not too shabby. Could have been better, but it's not really much more than I can ask for from this car. We are already pushing it to its maximum. Anyways, we've gained 6/10 on Schumacher since the final lap. That's Ralf Schumacher, not Michael Schumacher, although I believe that's either... That could be the two brothers actually. It could be Michael Schumacher ahead of the Williams, as we're having a look around the outside of Ralf Schumacher. No, we're not quite close enough. That was a good move though. That would have been a good move had it worked. Although this does mean that we do have the slipstream all the way down the back straight. No DRS in this era of Formula 1. This is the old days as we find the 100 marker moving across. No, he's still there. God, thought we got the move done. Turns out we hadn't. That could have been a very, very nasty and unfortunate accident. Going to jink to the right, find the grip on the left here. Whoa, that could have been very nasty. He suddenly jinked across. That could have been the end of both of our races actually. That would definitely have taken my wing off. Try and find where Irvine is slow. I'm assuming we can make a similar move here on either the penultimate lap or the final lap. That would be a daredevil maneuver. As we almost collide with the back of Irvine's Scarlet Ferrari. Schumacher having a look behind us. Hopefully we can keep him behind us towards the end of the race and finish strongly. Similar story with Irvine. He is getting away through the corners. The car, my particular Williams, is struggling for grip in the low speed corners, although that might be because I've whacked it on a very low downforce setup. We've got a good run on Irvine onto the final straight, although we did lose a bit of time on the exit of that corner. You really want to get that exit correct. We didn't quite do it, although it looks like we are gaining on the Ferrari of Eddie Irvine as we soar, hurtle, fly into the final chicane. We're going to take it gently. Take it slow, because we know that there's going to be opportunities later on in the race. I want to aim for a top 5 finish, and as our fuel is running very low onto the final lap, this could be our final few opportunities to catch Eddie Irvine. Although alternatively this might end up in a massive accident. Hopefully that won't be the case, as we try to keep the car pointing in the right direction through that first chicane. Find the braking point at the 50. Making sure we don't go too wide into here, because that's where Ralf Schumacher wants to have a good look at us on the previous lap. We've lost a bit of time to Irvine. I'm getting very tense at the moment, under a lot of pressure right now, trying to fend off Ralf Schumacher and also simultaneously catch Irvine. It doesn't look like we're going to do it, although if we do finish in this way, it will be a good finish, because pitching the car in, we've got a good exit. Maximise the amount of steering angle. It does look like Irvine is getting away though. This is going to be a bit disappointing. We did work very hard. It was going to be a stellar finish, and we got a car very slow. That's lap traffic getting very well out of the way here. Can we do anything miraculous for Irvine? Cutting across, that's a bit cheaty, and no, we've done it all wrong. That's gone very wrong. We can reverse across the finish line. You take a risk in Formula 1, and it goes a bit wrong occasionally, but yes, that is the end of the Canadian Grand Prix, crossing the line backwards as we go. Well, we took a risk and it didn't quite work. That's a bit of a shame. But you know, that's what gives Formula 1 its massive amounts of excitement. I guess you could say it was a stupid risk, but you know, you live and learn, and that was nonetheless a very, very enjoyable race. I do hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I did. Certainly a better race than Catalonia. But yes, my name is Fritz, and that was an outrageous manoeuvre. And I'll see you next time.